Good evening and welcome to Pressing Issues. Today is Sunday, September 6th. That's a lot of S's. Welcome. Glad you're joining us for Pressing Issues tonight. Let's start off. I'll introduce our panel for this evening. We have Rich Grafton.
Hello, everyone.
We have Ben Harris.
Howdy, folks.
You might recognize Ben from Park Center, making his debut on Pressing Issues because he's got a lot to rant about.
Yeah.
And
I'm not going to fit it in 30 minutes this week. I needed to vent somewhere else.
And Spencer.
Good morning from the future.
From Tokyo. Yes, Spencer is currently living in tomorrow.
Land.
No. Tomorrow. Thank you for joining us tonight. We've got a couple of interesting things to talk about, and I'm sure, as you've seen over the past couple of days, our coverage of Labor Day crowds in Orlando. This is the first sort of major holiday weekend that has happened since the Disney parks reopened. Universal did reopen in June, so they went through the 4th of July weekend, but this is the first major weekend for the Disney parks, and crowds were pretty heavy. It looked like all the parks were at capacity at some point over the weekend, and we still have tomorrow yet too to that we don't know about until we see what happens. But all the parks were at capacity at some point. Park passes had run out. Surprisingly, Hollywood Studios, from our reporters who were there, didn't seem to be quite as busy as we would have expected, but certainly Magic Kingdom and Epcot were. As well, all three of the Universal parks closed due to capacity, which our reporter this morning trying to drive into the parking garage was in traffic for an hour before she could get into the parking garage. Ew. So that brings me to my first rant. This is only a minor one, though. So you drive to Disney World, right? You're on I-4. You can get from I-4 to any of the Disney parks, almost any of the Disney parks, without stopping at a red light, which makes traffic pretty smooth. You can get right up to the toll plaza, and then you go right into the park, and things are relatively smooth. I mean, there's backups at the toll plaza, this and that. Universal, you have to go through at least 2 stoplights to get to their parking garage, which in my mind is kind of absurd, because you have thousands and thousands of people heading there, like this morning, at Park Open, and you have to stop at a red light. That doesn't make any sense to me. I think the streets around Universal are some of the most poorly engineered streets. Both the entrance and the exits to get back onto I-4 are pretty much terrible. There's a road that leads you onto I-4 southbound. Takes you right past Cabana Bay. That's the only efficient route to get out is take that road and you shoot right onto I-4 and you're all set. But if you want to go anywhere else around Universal, you're stuck at red lights all over the place, and to me that's just absurd. I mean, I realize they're kind of landlocked and there's kind of problems with you have highways running through, and then you have pre-existing structures and this and that, but that really wasn't well thought out from the beginning. I mean, Disney built a parking garage at Springs, and you can get off of I-4 and enter the parking garage directly without having to deal with any problems. There's a street light on the ramp, but You can exit off of I-4 and you shoot right into the parking garage and boom, you're there. It's easy when it's open. It's not open right now, which is annoying as heck to me. But anyway, Universal, it's like a disaster. You've got to get off the exit. You've got to go through red lights. You go up to the parking. Then the parking, there's two different entrances to the parking garage, but the second one is like never open, which is another problem. So poor Annie was in traffic for almost an hour to get into the parking garage today. And by the time she got into the parking garage, the parks were filled to capacity and they were turning people away. So it seems that Universal is not set up. And I mean, you also have to assume that this is less people than normal, simply because the parks are at lower capacity than normal. So although this is crowded for nowadays, it's still not as crowded as it would have been, last year at this point in time or whatever. So the traffic situation on Universal is one of the most annoying things to me. But I digress. It sucks to sit in traffic for an hour when you're trying to get somewhere, to a theme park, and you're trying to get there at opening, and you plan everything ahead of time, and then something happens and you're stuck in traffic. So, let's see. So anyway, yeah. So I mean, all of the pictures, the coverage that we had today, I thought social distancing guidelines were still pretty well followed. It sort of seems on some occasions that people are sort of getting social distancing fatigue and mask fatigue and not really wanting to wear these masks anymore. It certainly was a hot weekend again. So I know, at least like around me in grocery stores and things, there's definitely people that are kind of tired of the masks, and there's a lot less mask compliance than I think there was 3 months ago or something. But it seems at the parks that the cast members are still doing a really good job keeping watch over the guests, making sure their masks are on. There's always going to be a couple of miscreants not following the rules, but for the most part, I think things have been handled pretty well. So other than massive crowds and long waits and issues getting into the parks, which I think are all expected when there's a holiday weekend, once you're in the parks, it seemed to me from all the pictures that I've seen that at least guests were following the rules, or cast members were keeping on top of the guests that weren't following the rules. So that's a good thing. I'm happy to see that. I think I mentioned last week, probably if you're watching last week, I've got a trip planned for Thanksgiving. So that's going to be this weekend to me was sort of a litmus test for what's going to happen in Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving certainly is going to be a bigger holiday weekend than Labor Day. So it'll be interesting to see. But now I've kind of got a preview of what to expect. So anybody else want to talk about their thoughts on the crowds this weekend?
I would agree that it's not yet at the point where we have problems with social distancing. I would agree that from what I've seen of the pictures that the reporters are sending back, it seems like either people know that in order to keep Disney open, they have to do the social distancing and do the masking thing, so they don't want to jeopardize that by not doing that, and the cast members do seem to be keeping on top of things. Likewise, I'd also echo the the local stuff, although we've been pretty good, at least in my observation, with mask discipline and distancing discipline, but still it's less rigorous and seems less consistent than from what I've seen at Disney. Just to quickly go back to the traffic thing, back when I knew a civil engineer that worked for Reedy Creek, or knew somebody who knew, a friend of a friend of a friend, I think that one of the reasons that traffic around Disney is the way it is because they have that extra level of control, and at least in the past, they had a very high degree of expertise in traffic planning and behavioral planning and modification to get people to drive where they want them to drive without realizing that's where they wanted to drive, that certainly Universal did not have, because Universal doesn't have any control over the roads outside of its immediate property. So I think that might be one of the big reasons why Universal can be frustrating, but Disney, while there is still a lot of traffic, it does seem to keep moving.
I've got a little bit of concern. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, I've been keeping up with what we've been seeing with the reporters as well. And I think that seeing what's happening this weekend is an important litmus test for, like Jason said, seeing how things will go for Thanksgiving and Christmas as we move forward, returning to some semblance of normality. It's just really interesting to see how things fell so far. And maybe Disney and Universal will be able to learn from some of the rough experiences. I mean, you never know.
Yeah. So my concern is that what is tomorrow going to look like? So we're recording this on Sunday. Tomorrow is Labor Day. And we posted an article up on the website earlier today about how there's now full Disney Park Pass availability that's been replenished for everybody on Labor Day. Is the park going to just be a madhouse? Or is this actually an indicator that they haven't gotten as many people that they were expecting to come to the parks? Or is this all just like in Disney's plan and like, yes, they're putting more out there, but they were planning on doing this the whole time and it's going to be fine? Like
there could be, they could be doing
good, but
they could be doing what they're doing here and trying to see just how many people they can shove in without having a complete breakdown of social distancing everywhere. I wouldn't put it past Disney, because this is the first time they've had major crowds clamoring to come to the park.
Right. It's an iterative thing.
Yeah,
right?
I think.
I mean, you sprint a week and then you
Right.
see where you end up, and then you sprint another week and you see where you end up. And if we're the rats in the maze, then we're the rats in the maze.
Yeah, I think there's probably a couple things at play. Certainly, I think Saturday and Sunday are generally going to be more crowded than Monday, simply because anybody who's traveling for, more than a couple hours has got to get home for work on Tuesday. So that's number one, is I would expect yesterday and today to be the busiest days out of the weekend. Also, I think, too, that for the same reason, people that were coming and buying day tickets probably were coming Saturday and Sunday and may or may not come Monday. And so what I think happened was that a lot of the capacity that they had sort of held back for day tickets, they released. And that's probably based on how many day tickets they sold yesterday and today, and expecting there to be less tomorrow, so they have a better ability to predict how many they need to hold back for tomorrow. And so that's been sort of the whole thing with this Park Pass availability is, there's three different buckets. There's the pass holder bucket that's almost always used up. There's the resort bucket that seems to be pretty available most of the time. And then there's the day ticket bucket that seems to be available almost all the time. And on top of that, we don't know whether they're increasing capacity. We talked about last week that the Florida governor said, he feels comfortable that the parks could increase capacity if they felt like they could do it safely. So at some point, Disney reorganizes how many park passes are in each of those buckets, and then whether they're increasing capacity a bit, maybe, like you said, just to push the limits and see how much they could do. Our reporters yesterday at Studios said that it seemed not much busier than sort of a normal weekend. So it's kind of like, they could probably open up a little bit more for studios. I think they probably don't have a really good handle on what a maxed out park looks like. This is probably the closest they've come. And certainly better safe than sorry. They're limiting the park passes, but now that they know, maybe they can increase capacity a bit more, based on how things turned out this weekend. So I think probably a number of different things are in play in terms of where these extra park passes are coming from that have sort of opened up for tomorrow.
It could also be that they're looking at the futures and down the road of how many rooms they have sold, and so they're not only adding to the total number of slots in all the buckets, but they're probably dumping buckets in between themselves too. They know they're not going to have as many resort guests, or they're going to have more resort guests, so they move some of those to annual pass holders, or vice versa, depending on what the levels of occupancy they expect to have at the resorts too. So I agree. It's not just the buckets. It's the shell game, shuffling around what's in the buckets as well.
Right. And, here's something that just came to mind that I hadn't actually thought of before, and I wonder if their system is actually smart enough to figure this out. They can certainly look at resort... They could certainly look at resort reservations and get a feel for how many people are staying on property from the resort occupancy. What I really wonder is if they can tell how many of the people that have resort reservations already have booked a park pass. Like, I'm sure there's people that come down for a weekend and booked a weekend and didn't think about booking a park pass ahead of time. I'm sure that happens. How much it happens, I don't know. Maybe people don't know. Maybe people booked at the last minute. Maybe they haven't decided what park they want to go to. I don't know. But I'm sure there's some percentage of people that have a resort room booked that don't have park passes booked. And I wonder if their system is actually smart enough to figure out how many there are. That's a good question. I don't have any insight. I don't hold out a lot of hope that their system is that smart. But, things have surprised me in the past once in a while, so we will see. But yeah, I think this whole park pass availability thing is something that's going to be a sort of a continually moving target. And as we see, park pass availability opens up here and there in bunches. There was a point last week, or 2 weeks ago maybe, where I was trying to get, so I'm coming down for the October 1st premiere of News Tonight for the new season. And so I was trying to book park passes for that weekend, and I don't have a hotel booked yet, so I was just going to use my 3 AP days because I don't have them booked for any other reason. So I went online to look at the pass holder calendar, and I figured, over the course of that long weekend, I'll hit all the parks once. And the calendar was showing that Studios was unavailable for all of the days that I was going to be there. And that didn't surprise me, honestly, and I thought I would just check back, on occasion and see if any more opened up. But just on a whim, I kind of clicked on the date that I wanted, and then I clicked through the next screen where it shows you, like, please select a park, and then Studios was there. So on one screen it tells me there's no Studios park passes, but when you click through the next screen, it let me pick Studios, so I have a Studios park pass. So again, whether something just happened to open, somebody canceled one in the moment when I was clicking between the screens, or I don't know what. My guess is that there certainly is some lag in updating of the calendar. I bet that calendar page probably only updates every 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and so certainly people cancel, and the calendar takes 10 or 15 minutes to pick up on those cancellations, and so if you don't try, you'll never know, is my thought as to how that happened. So that sort of, gives everybody hope that even if the calendar looks like it's full, click through anyway and see what happens. It can't hurt anything. Yeah.
Of course, the trouble is
I want to bust out the... Rich, go ahead.
I was just going to say that works in reverse as well. On page 1, it might show it's available. By the time you get to page 3, it's caught up and it's no longer available. So it's still, it's definitely a crapshoot, a dice game, whatever, a game of chance, if you will.
So I want to get out the tin foil real quick because I've got a theory on this. That they are intentionally on the calendar saying that things don't have availability so that not as many people will try. This is the same kind of lying that Disney already does in terms of wait times, how they'll artificially inflate the projected wait time for an attraction as it gets closer to park close, and other various situations where they have messed with those numbers. I think they're doing the exact same thing here, so that when park availability starts getting low, they kind of quietly reserve a little bit of it so that if they need it, or if guests are in there booking multiple days at a time or things like that, they will see it and they will be able to get that availability. Whereas folks who are, say, annual pass holders that are trying to sit there and snipe this, they're not going to see it. Because they're not going to go digging into the whole reservation system. They're going to want to just check at the easy level. And I think that that's way more likely than just simply getting lucky with the timing. And I honestly don't think I'm even that upset about it. Because it makes sense to me that if a family is going and booking like a 4 or 5 day vacation, that you want to try and save a little bit of availability for these folks that are going to be going in to book everything out. As opposed to just being completely open about all of it and losing it all to locals that are just hammering away at the system. Also, thank you, Robert D, for the $10 super chat saying someone has to start.
Yeah,
so thank you for starting it.
Ben, what you said is pretty interesting. I think it certainly is a feasible idea that they're doing that on purpose. But you're talking about the family that books a 4 or 5 day vacation and wants to book the park passes. They're most likely not taking them out of the AP buckets. So they're going to take them out of the resort bucket or the day ticket bucket and not the AP bucket.
That's fair.
So
I wasn't thinking about the buckets like that. Yeah.
So Kate in the chat just asked a question related to. She said, if I book park passes with my AP and then I decide to book a room, does the system switch that over to resort passes? No, it should not. It should allow me to keep my AP days. Whether it switches them or not, I don't know, but I should be allowed to have park passes, as many as I have from my resort stay, and then 3 more for my AP. So how they calculate which buckets they come out of, I'm not 100% sure, but certainly if I booked them as an AP and then booked a hotel, obviously I couldn't make more park passes because I've already got them, but I think if I tried to make more later, then it would sort of switch them so that I have my AP bucket that I could still use. At least that's the way that I think it should work. If it didn't and I wanted to book some AP days later, then I would probably have to call them and wait on hold for an hour and a half, and then I could get it fixed. Let's see. Do you think
Bill Jones in chat says that there's one bucket and they just shift availability around between them, and that's really a good thought there. I think that would make a ton of sense if they had a ton of resort availability left over. They just shift it to APs. Yeah,
I mean that's sort of the same thing as there's 3 buckets and you just shift between the buckets, whether you want to call it. I think we're all talking about the same thing.
They're more like a colander than a bucket, really.
Oh, no. What about bowls?
Penguin
How do we get
Project
any bowls in here?
Penguin Project asked, do you think that this whole thing is intentional? Your conspiracy theory, Ben, do you think that's intentional? Or do you think it's just a case of Shop Disney syndrome with the tech not working as quite as they wanted it to? That's probably a 50-50 toss-up at this point, I think.
I think it might have started out as a bug that they left in as a feature.
That could be too. Or it started out as a bug and they didn't know it, and now they know it, but they decided to not fix it.
Yeah.
But speaking of Shop Disney, I don't have
boy.
anything to rant about this week on Shop Disney. Oh, I do. Sorry.
There it
I
is.
spoke too soon.
Crap.
I spoke too soon.
I was so relieved for
Shop-
a second.
Shop Disney is now selling limited release masks. I think that's kind of
What?
offensive. Yes. They came out with
Well,
limited
why?
release Halloween masks. There's like a Jack and Sally. There's a Mickey and Minnie Halloween themed mask, but they're called limited release on the website. And I think that's kind of offensive that they're making collectibles out of these things that are designed to protect your health in a pandemic, and they're turning them into. I mean, it's not like we don't collect the ones that they have now. We use them. The problem is that if I bought these limited release ones, I'd be much more hesitant to use them. But I obviously there are Halloween themed masks. They're going to be limited release because they're not going to keep making them after Halloween. But they have to go and put the limited release tag on there to make people scoop them up sooner or faster or whatever. Okay. I think that's really just profiteering off the pandemic, and I don't like it. So that's my rant. If anybody else wants to... Karen in the chat says, can I honestly say that I'm surprised? No, I'm not surprised at all. I'm just offended. But I think they're the same price. I don't think they're more expensive. I'll look it up while somebody else talks about what their thoughts are on this.
I mean, it's hard to justify saying that something is limited edition, like Jason said, when it protects your health. But as we have seen, Disney puts no effort into stopping resellers or other people who are just going to scoop everything up and put it on eBay. So what do they care?
Yeah, I mean, they don't care. There's a Mulan one, too. There's the Jack and Sally set, there's a Halloween set, and there's a Mulan live-action limited release set. They're $12 for a 2-pack, so it's the same price. You don't get them 4 for $20, though, but they're $6 a piece. They're all still available online. But yeah, they call them limited release. They don't say anything in the description about, being a limited release mask or whatnot, but it's there in the title that they're limited release.
Have there been any retailers?
Limited quantity? Or, sorry.
We don't actually know what limited release means. Limited release means they've made a certain quantity and they don't plan to make more, but they're also not telling you what that quantity is. So limited release is sort of like limited edition, but they don't want to tell you the quantity. And then also they could make more later if they wanted to, and probably no one would know. So it's essentially a useless description that they throw on there because collectors will buy it. That's about, I think, as accurate as I can get with what limited release actually means. In the pin world, it meant, well, we're making a bunch of these and we're not going to make another order of them. So we ordered 10,000 and that's all there is. We don't want to tell you that it's 10,000 because limited edition pins of like 1,000 are the ones that are in demand. If we called it limited edition of 10,000, no one would care. So they call it limited release, and that means that that's all there are. But then, there's open stock pins that, have been on the racks for 5, 6, 7 years now. Those are just open edition. They keep making them as they sell out, like the resort pins and stuff. They'll change the designs every couple of years or 5 or 6 years, but they're not limited release. So all the mini main attraction merchandise is limited release simply because they ordered a whole bunch of it and that's all they're going to order. They're not going to keep selling it. So anything that they have that's like like that mini main attraction, a monthly thing, or whatever, those are a limited release. It just means that they're not going to keep selling them as a stock item.
Have there been any retailers like Amazon or eBay in the U.S. that have put in policies against reselling PPE and like masks and hand sanitizers and stuff like that?
I know Amazon certainly at the beginning of the pandemic took down a whole bunch of listings that people were selling hugely inflated prices for masks and hand sanitizer and stuff. I think that stuff is plentiful now, and it's not really a big deal anymore. But at the beginning, they were. Amazon was definitely.
Because that's what I'm thinking. Like, why would you put limited release on a mask if you can't resell it? But then that just kind of defeats my whole argument if no one's gonna care.
I mean, you could pretty much sell anything on eBay, and you know, if it's limited release or whatnot, I don't think anybody's gonna care on eBay. So that's where I would expect these things to go if resellers sell them. But they've been on Shop Disney now for 5 days, and they're still there. So they're also it's also called pre-order. It's also a pre-order, so it may be the case that they're going to leave these up there for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I don't know. I mean, some are Halloween, so they might leave them up for all of September. And then they, at some point in time, they just order however many they need to fulfill the orders, and then they stop taking orders.
Kickstarter.
So, yeah, kind of. I mean, it's kind of like, well, it's limited release. It's you know, we sell as many as we can. It's kind of like a T-shirt thing. You know, pre-order your T-shirt for this one-time event, and then you know, we shut down the orders and we order that many T-shirts. So it's limited release, and that's all dependent on how many people order them. That's all it means.
So
there's no limit. There's no limit to the number you can buy.
So it says pre-order, but there's no listed release date.
Correct. I believe.
Okay.
I mean, masks from Shop Disney have taken way too long to get anyway, but there is no listed release date that I can see.
Okay.
It just says this item is pre-order. You will be notified when it's ready to ship. That's all. So.
Jeez.
Yeah.
It'll be ready just in time for Christmas.
Probably.
There you go.
I mean, I'd be surprised if these get to anybody by Halloween, but, you know, stranger things have happened.
Real quick to talk to Spencer's point real quick about selling masks. On eBay, I believe anything goes, and if nothing else, you could just list it as like, this is for collectible purposes, not actually, it's not in a usable state, and then you're home free. But on Amazon, if you list anything that's even vaguely like a mask, it could get classified as PPE, and it looks like there's actually some restrictions on what you need to go through in order to list PPE, including but not limited to providing a purchase invoice from the manufacturer or distributor where you got those masks from. Unless you made them yourself, in which case then you would probably need to prove that fact. But if you're asking for like an invoice and you give them like a receipt from Shop Disney, I think they might give you a hard look and say that's not okay.
Okay. I asked because I know here they passed a law like at the beginning of the pandemic where you couldn't resell masks or hand sanitizer online or in any way, really. You could only buy them from the direct manufacturer or from like pharmacies and stuff. So I wasn't sure if there was any similar framework set up by retailers in the US by like Amazon or eBay or whatever for that purpose.
Straight capitalism. Just if you can make a buck, do it.
I don't know if it's that big of a deal, really. I mean, medical people have been making fancy things and for more money than less fancy things for decades. I mean, you know, special wristbands for your Fitbit or for your Apple Watch, or, you know, a different type of inhaler that actually has crystals on it instead of just plastic. Or I mean, it's rampant throughout the industry. So big deal. It's another way to make money.
I mean, it was just I wanted to figure out like if there was anything similar happening in the U.S. or not.
No, I don't think so. I mean,
All
yeah,
right.
if it's a quote-unquote medical device, then yeah, you have to show the provenance of it. But if it's just a piece of cloth that you wear on your face, quote-unquote non-medical mask, doesn't matter.
Fair enough.
It's a dust mask.
There you go.
Hatbox
Sure,
Ghost
let's
in the
call it
chat. So Hatbox Ghost in the chat asked, "What are the status of Splash Mountain collectibles this week?" Something we haven't talked about in
boy.
a couple of weeks. And they came out with new things. A beach towel, of all things, is a new Splash
The
Mountain
beach towel
merchandise.
looks cool, actually.
It does. It looks really nice. I like it quite a bit. So again, we talked about this last week, how Disney had said that they have been working on a plan to replace Splash Mountain for over a year. But yeah, they're planning to replace it. But here's some brand new merchandise we just designed. Hurry up and buy it before we retheme the ride in who knows how long. So yeah, the towel looks really nice. I like it. They came out with a new pin too. There's a new Brer Rabbit pin that just came out. Funnily enough, Tom got that pin and took pictures of it, and then because it was new, all the resellers went and bought a whole bunch and put them on eBay. And there's always people reselling stuff on eBay, and there's a bunch of them that take our pictures and use them on eBay. And so every once in a while, I go into eBay, and we have we're one of their verified outlets that can file copyright infringement claims. So we had a whole bunch of eBay listings taken down today. People that are using our images for Leota zippers and for the pins and what else there was. There was a couple other things I can't remember. But yeah, there was like a whole bunch of people just stealing our pictures to put their listings on eBay. So
It was as if millions of voices screamed, WWNT resells merchandise, and then cried out in silence.
well,
We don't do it. We don't.
It's something I wake up like. So this is. I'm gonna go on a side tangent real quick. This is one of the crazy things about living in Japan and keeping up with the things that go on in the domestic parks. When I wake up, it's like 5:00 p.m. in the U.S. So I wake up and I'm in my half awake state, browsing on Twitter, seeing the latest drama unfold, and it's the craziest thing. Like, try waking up and already having like half of an argument already being screamed at each other on Twitter. It's ridiculous. And just sometimes I wake up and see the craziest things. And I think it was last week when I saw another one of the resells merchandise things, or sometimes it's WWNT hates cast members or anything like that. And wow, my video just went really bad. Anyway, the point is, crazy things happen when you live across the planet.
yeah. Penguin Project in the chat asked, if they give you credit, do they still get taken down? I have not seen anyone on an eBay listing give us credit when they use our picture. Not at all. We were actually talking about, I was talking with Tom today about putting watermarks on all of our pictures, because if people gave us credit on eBay, I think we would be willing to let them use the photos. So if we put watermarks on our pictures, then it's kind of built-in credit. They give us credit because the watermark's right there, unless they try to crop it out or something fancy, but still. So yeah. It is true that eBay generally recommends having pictures of whatever is in your possession, but certainly that doesn't stop people from stealing pictures of things that are fairly abundant and all look the same. So,
yeah.
Nicole says, "Please start using watermarks seriously." Yeah, I mean, there's certainly pluses and minuses, and some people don't like it. It would make our lives a lot easier, I think, in some cases, but Yeah, there's some reasons not to do it, making our pictures look ugly or whatever. So it would be nice to be able to do it subtly. The problem is, like, if we want to do it, and have it be visible enough, then it kind of has to be customized, and we don't have time for that. So it would be like an automated thing where all the pictures would just get watermarks. But yeah, I don't know. We've
played with. Well, we've played with watermarks in the past. Remember when we had another site steal my magazine scans for new merchandise coming to TBR, and we had to watermark the rest of those. Yeah, that was a fun day.
No, I think probably what we'll do is certain things we'll probably end up putting watermarks on, like merchandise. New merchandise is something that all the we post new merchandise and all the resellers run to the parks to buy it. So certainly putting watermarks on merchandise things is a good idea. We posted one of the very first pictures of the ugly new castle that we took on a super zoom from Bay Lake Tower the first day that Bay Lake Tower was open. That was June 23rd. And that photo of the castle went all over the place because it was the highest resolution close-up photo that anybody had gotten to that point. So that went all over the place. But so I mean that's not merchandise, but it went got spread all over social media without any attribution. So Devin asks, "Are you officially with Disney?" No, we are not. We are officially not Disney.
No, God, no.
Yeah, Nicole. I've seen pictures everywhere without credit. Absolutely.
So I want to rewind real quick, just to pose a question. It's a two-parter, actually. Number one, has anyone else noticed that since they've announced this closure, they've been putting out more Splash Mountain merchandise than in the last few years, or is it just me?
Yeah. I mean, I think the plush obviously has been out, but the towels, the new pins, I mean, pins generally take
tumbler,
6 to 8 weeks to get from China shipped over here. Mm-hmm. And so it's like 2 months. Well, 2 months after they announced the closing and people went crazy for merchandise, some new pins show up. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. I'm absolutely sure that they are responding to the mad rush for Splash merchandise by putting more out. Absolutely. Yep.
It definitely does not feel like a coincidence that we've seen more Splash Mountain merchandise come out in the past 8 weeks than I think we have in the past couple of years almost.
Yep.
Probably. I mean, no one followed it that close, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, look back on, because we follow almost everything. Like, look back on the site. There's so few Splash Mountain merchandise posts to the past couple of years, and then all of a sudden, it just every week there's something new. We got the tumbler and the beach towel and the pin, and I don't know if there's any other explanation than just Disney is trying to squeeze every last penny out of it before the ride closes in 5 years or however long it takes.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they have some big event like they did for Great Movie Ride. That would not surprise me at all. That they have some big event when it closes. A couple things in the chat. Brian is a New Wigs member. How does one access post shows? Everyone says they are Patreon, but it's not there. So a couple weeks ago, we started putting the post shows on a different system other than Patreon. Ben, when you do because Park Center has really been the only one using this new system since WDW News Tonight hasn't been live since we switched over. Do you still post on Patreon the link to get to the post show?
I usually don't anymore. I've been posting in the Wixcord, which you should definitely go join. It is a fun place full of awesome people. But I think I might start posting it in Patreon as well, just because it's a little difficult to find if you don't know where to look. If you don't know where to look, it's my.wdwnt.com. and then there's Wigs exclusives tab at the top. If you click there, you can find all the post shows down below that. And they will always be embedded there in the same place every time. So you can find it without even having to really log into Patreon or anything like that.
Right. So essentially, if once you join Wigs, you want to head over to my.wdwnt.com and create an account there by logging in with your Patreon login information, and then that opens up a whole bunch of other things, including the post shows, including other Wigs exclusive things like the detailed video shows that are brand new, and then there's a bunch of other Wigs exclusive stuff that's there. Just because Patreon doesn't give us the ability to post a lot of those things like that, or they get posted in a blog fashion and then eventually they get lost, and we wanted to have a sort of repository that people could browse through. So yeah, once you're on Patreon, head over to my.wdwnt.com, and then there's a Discord discussion board too, because Patreon doesn't really have anything like that. So
Join the Wigs Court. It's awesome.
BC Fan says the new app is Buns. I get ads constantly. It's ridiculous. So I'm assuming that Buns means it's not good.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've certainly gotten some feedback on that.
Yeah.
I'm 20. I'm supposed to be like, I'm at the level where I should be knowing what slang means, and I have never heard buns in my life.
Are you a millennial, Spencer?
No, I'm Gen Z. I'm the one after.
Oh, you're Gen Z. Okay, you're after millennial.
I'm technically a millennial, and I don't know what buns means.
I don't know. So anyway, yes, thanks for the feedback. We've gotten a lot of feedback on the ads and that they're annoying, and we know that. And so it's definitely something that we're looking into. We're looking into a way to get rid of those ads because I think they are sort of obtrusive, I would say.
Yeah, if the app is harder to use than the website, we're not doing the job right. So
yeah. But somebody did say the new app, they like the new app better, except for the ads, and I think that's most of the feedback is that the new ad is much better than the new app is much better than the old one, except for the ads. So, yeah.
WWNT, the app.
Yeah. If nothing else, I'm a huge fan of it because the notifications in there, like you can tell it like, hey, I don't want to get notified about merch, or I don't want to get notified about Paris and Hong Kong, or like, and it will just not even push to your phone those notifications, and it's really nice.
It bundles Tokyo, Paris, Hong Kong, and Shanghai together, and that makes me upset.
Bunville.
I'm so sorry.
It's the bundling is buns. The bundling is buns.
That's it.
I
it's
do not
buns.
like
oh no. It's gonna be like Rob White in 2020. We're gonna.
Don't bring that up. He's not even here. If you liked the old app better for some particular reason, or Mandy asks if you have suggestions for the app, you can send them to me, Jason at wdwnt.com. Let me know. Let me know whether if you like the old app better, what aspect of it you liked, because we could certainly tweak the new app to do things that you think the old app did better. So let us know. If you have suggestions, let us know. Ideas, let us know. One of the ideas that we are working on is to let Wigs members sign into the app and not get ads at all. So I think that would be something that you guys, Wigs members, would love. Do
staff members
we're
get
working
that too?
on it. Well, probably.
Yeah, where's the staff benefit for that?
That's a super complex thing to be able to do, but we are working on it. So no promises as to when it'll happen, but we certainly are working on it. Wigs members support us a ton, and so we shouldn't have to subject you to the ads. So anyway, but thanks in advance for any feedback on the app. Yeah, please send it to me. All right. Well, we kind of really got sidetracked quite a bit, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Splash Mountain.
What were we talking about? Splash
How
Mountain,
unusual.
yes.
Splash Mountain merchandise. Somebody asked in the chat. So Nicole asked, maybe in the future incorporate the old podcasts. So that's difficult to put that in the app. Specifically because so what we've done is we've made the old podcast available to Wigs members, and we didn't announce this or anything, but over the past week I've uploaded a bunch of old episodes. So if you're looking for old episodes of almost all of our podcasts, now they are on my.wdwnt.com under the Wigs exclusive content area. I know we had SOS up there because that's a really popular one. I just put up this past week all of the back episodes of the WDW News Today podcast.
Wow!
I think I also put up the Pincast. So, in order to make them Wigs exclusive, we can't really incorporate them into the app. But you can go and you can download them all. You can sort of download them in bulk and then copy them over to your phone or whatever. So we can't really put them in the app, but they are certainly available to Wigs members. So if you can't find that or you need technical support or how to do that or whatever, certainly let me know. Send me an email, jason@wwnt.com. There's also a technical support section. There's a link at the top of our website. I think so. There used to be. Maybe it's at the bottom.
There's a form there. I know we still get it.
Yeah, we still get them. I'm trying. Oh, yeah, it's at the bottom now. The link to technical support is at the bottom, so you can also go there and fill that out, and we'll get back to you with help.
And also the tech team channel in Wigscourt if you're a Wigs member. Or the tech support channel.
I'm not gonna discuss any of the map game or math game things in the chat right now. Just gonna ignore them.
I'm gonna try and take this back on topic for a second,
please.
though, and talking about Splash Mountain merch. I am kind of upset that Disney announced that they're going to be closing this. Kind of like they didn't come out and say, like, due to the current climate, like the current political climate, we're closing this because it's insensitive. But it's pretty clear to anybody with half of a brain cell that this is being closed in response to that. I'm honestly appalled that Disney is closing this like that and trying to replace it with something else for reasons of this is inappropriate, and is then like selling a ton of merch and making a ton of money off of this. Like, you're sending such hard mixed messages with that. Like, if you want to close this and you want to replace it with something that isn't as controversial, that isn't as offensive, good, please do that. But you're going to sell all this merch and make all this money off of something that you are currently like putting out there as almost like it was a mistake, like that this attraction shouldn't exist, and yet you're going to promote it and sell it hard. I would be okay if they had like some going away, like a small line of going away merch. If they had an event for the last night that it runs, like that's okay. That's people getting closure. That's people saying goodbye to something that's been a part of their lives. And offensive or not, I respect that. But that they're putting out all this merch. They're making more merch that isn't just the going away line. They're just making like towels and pins and stuff like that just because they know that it'll sell, and it is selling, and that frustrates the heck out of me, and I can't stand to watch this.
So yeah, I think, Ben, that's a great point. I totally agree. I think here's the problem. There's a couple problems that Disney is faced with. One is that I think it would have been very difficult for them to be silent after all these calls for replacing Splash Mountain, simply because they've sort of admitted in the past that, you know, it may offend some people. It's based on a movie that's racist, all that. So it was really hard for them to stay silent when there were all these calls and petitions to retheme Splash Mountain. At the same time, we are in a situation that's somewhat difficult for the company to be able to commit a lot of money to new projects. And so this actually segues nicely into our cast member raises topic that we'll talk about after the break. My thought is exactly that. If they were thinking about this for a year, which is what they said 6 months ago now, that they were thinking about this for a year to retheme Splash Mountain, but they didn't announce it yet. Maybe they were waiting for D23 Expo to announce it. I don't know. Who knows? But they came out with that announcement clearly due to public pressure. The problem is that they don't have... Either they're not ready to start construction, or they simply don't have the money to do the construction. So they're keeping the old ride open. That, I think, is kind of... they're really in a difficult situation. They're kind of between a rock and a hard place, because on the one hand, you admit that this ride is offensive and based on a racist movie and probably shouldn't exist. But on the other hand, you have to keep it open simply for capacity reasons, especially now when the parks are at reduced capacity, notwithstanding the fact that people like the ride as a ride. I mean, it's a fun ride, regardless of whether you think it's offensive or not. The ride system is a fun ride system, a log flume. So, you know, they really can't afford to close it and let it sit there for several years until they can finalize the plans and come up with the budget to redo it. So they really are stuck here in terms of what they can do and in terms of what the public wants them to do. So I certainly can understand why they didn't close it immediately. I mean, it's been around for ages and ages now, 25 years. So there was no reason to close it immediately, even if they were going to announce that they were retheming it. Coming out with new merchandise that capitalizes on the ride is tough, because you have a gift shop at the end of the ride. Are you just going to let it be empty? I mean, I think the best in that situation would be to just keep replenishing the existing merchandise and not design anything new. So, you know, they could certainly keep selling plush and pins and things like that. But yeah, coming out with brand new merchandise that was clearly designed and ordered after they announced that the ride was going away is just essentially profiteering. I don't, it really is, they're really in a tough spot. I get it. It's hard. And especially now when they need all the money they can. You know, if we look on the bright side and give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe all the profit they're making from this new merchandise is going to go into the budget to retheme the ride. And they'll do that sooner with more money. That's sort of the best case scenario I can come up with. That's probably not going to happen, but it's nice to think about.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
I can offer a solution. We don't have any Splash merchandise in Tokyo. Send it all to us, and we'll sell it. People love Splash Mountain here.
Why don't you have merchandise for Splash Mountain?
I don't know. We don't. People love Splash Mountain. We don't sell anything with the prayers on it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, you don't have a shop at the end of the ride, but
we have that little booth that sells Chip and Dale stuff on the passageway from the exit back into Critter Country.
And that's it. Yeah. I mean, you got a
It's
restaurant.
Japan
though,
and
which
it's
is cool.
anthropomorphic animals. Like, why is this not a thing?
Yeah, like the merchandise opportunity is right there, but we don't have any rare stuff, and it doesn't make any sense to me.
All right, so let's take a quick commercial break here. We will come back. We will talk about cast members getting raises, and we'll talk about Mulan, and we'll talk about whatever else Ben wants to rant about, because I think there's still more. There's still more of that coming too. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
Hi everyone, I'm Cosmic Chris Reed, inviting you to join my co-hosts and I every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern on WDW News Today as we chat Disney park memories, food, and Imagineer our own attractions, restaurants, hotels, and more. Share your stories with us in the YouTube chat. Plus, listen to WDWN Tunes at the same time to hear some Disney park music paired with the show topics. Cosmic Read Live every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern on WDW News Today.
4 panelists, 30 minutes, 1 week in Disney Parks news. This is Parks Center. On Parks Center, the panel and I cover the top 7... 7? Yeah, 7 Disney park stories of the past week. From attraction news to transportation scandals to new food and merchandise, we'll cover it all in 30 minutes or less. You can watch us stream live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. at wdwntunes.com. Watch episodes on demand at youtube.com/wdwnt, or subscribe to the audio version of the show on your favorite podcast app.
Dreamfinders is WDW News Today's podcast all about the creative culture surrounding Disney parks. Authors, Imagineers, dancers, actors, photographers, filmmakers, and a whole lot more have all stopped by to chat about how Disney has inspired their artistic work.
But I still remember sitting in conference tables and looking across at Michael and Jeffrey Katzenberg and this sort of little 6-year-old inside of me going, what in heaven's name is going on here? This is...
And we're off and running, and Tony needs someone to lay it out for him. And there's no architect available. So the next thing I know, I'm laying out the pavilion.
I got to tell you, I have not enjoyed a podcast so much. It's just a warm conversation, and warm and intelligent conversation, which you don't find that often in podcasts.
Dreamfinders. Episodes drop every other Tuesday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcatcher.
WDW News Tonight is our weekly comedy show combining the news of the week, comedy segments, thoughtful discussions, insane characters, parody commercials, games, and more. Watch live on Thursdays at 9 p.m. and become a Wigs member to get access to a bonus post show. Watch WDW News Tonight episodes anytime and live on YouTube, or get the audio-only version on iTunes and other podcast services.
Welcome back to Pressing Issues. Heading into hour 2 here. If you're just joining us, you missed us talking all about all kinds of stuff: Splash Mountain merchandise, crowds for Labor Day weekend. You can go back and watch the beginning later, or you can just rewind. Kevin, there should be a commercial for our new travel agent sponsor, the Vacationeer, that we should start playing. So if you can get that queued up, we could play that at some point when we need another quick little break. If you can't find it, let me know and we'll get it ready for next week. But yeah, so we just signed a new travel agent sponsor at the beginning of September called the Vacationeer. They will engineer your next Disney vacation. So there's links on our website. that you can click, or you can just head over to wdwnt.travel, and you'll be forwarded over to the Vacationeer, and they will help you book your Disney Cruise Line, Universal, whatever you want. They will engineer your next vacation for you. So yes. And
it's all free. Like they don't charge anything for what they do. It's all free for you.
It's all free. They will make your fast pass reservations. They'll make your park pass reservations. They'll make your dining reservations. So yeah, all that tedious stuff they will do for you for free. So go check them out. www.nt.travel. Anyways, let's start off this. Ben, do you want to rant? Are you ready?
Oh, let's go for it. I've warmed up. I think we're good.
Okay, go for it.
All right. So this is just so we're on the same page. This is about Mulan, right?
Whatever you want. There was something you wanted to rant about on Wednesday that you said you didn't have time on Park Center. Whatever you want to rant about, go for it. If it's Mulan, that's fine.
Right.
That'll segue into our next discussion. Anyways.
I'm at least starting on Mulan. We might trip over more later as the night goes on, but I've got kind of like 2 mini rants on Mulan right now. So first off is just the fact that like this. We've covered this before, but the fact that this is costing so much money for people to be able to see this at this point is just ludicrous. I think it's what, $30? Like that's just so that you can see it 3 months early. It's 30. Yeah, $29.99. Good night. That's so much money. Like that is the same amount you'd be paying for a theater, except now you have to provide your own TV, your own seats, your own everything. And you
also have to be subscribed to Disney Plus.
Yes.
Right? Like that's $30 exactly on top of your monthly subscription to Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm. And so you don't even get a discount for that. Like that's the thing that's killing me here is like I feel like if Disney had come out with this and been like, all right, it's $35 to get it early, like just to get it via Disney has a direct movies downloading service already, right? Because they have the DVDs that have the digital
Disney
download
Movies Anywhere.
Yeah. Right. So
Disney Movies.
I don't think anybody uses it. Yeah. I don't know if anybody uses it, but
you've already got the infrastructure to have this, so you could just sell codes to Disney Movies Anywhere for $35, or $25 if you have a Disney Plus account, and it will synchronize between the two so that you can watch it through Disney Plus. So you don't have to deal with the Disney Movies Anywhere thing. You can just stream it straight through there. I think they'd make more money, and I think that people would be a lot less upset because they'd be looking at this as a $10 discount for already having Disney Plus. Like if I'm paying $9 a month for Disney Plus and I'm getting a $10 discount on this movie, I'll just go get a month of Disney Plus and then probably forget to cancel it, pay $20, and now Disney's made more money. So in the end, like the scheme, like makes more money for Disney and makes people happier. Why are we not doing this? Like this is insane to me that we're going to try and just upcharge people who already have a subscription service and just make them feel scummy the whole way through.
Yeah, people here aren't happy about it either.
Go ahead. Yeah,
no, I was just going to say, because we have... So, our movie theaters are open. I genuinely thought that when Mulan came out, I've given up on the video quality. When Mulan came out, I thought that it would come out in theaters because we've been getting domestic releases for about a month now. We had like the new Doraemon movie that came out at the beginning of August, and like a few other things have come out. So I thought Mulan will come to the movie theater. No, they put it on Disney Plus here, and people are upset that it's not in the movie theater because the movie theaters are open. They're upset about paying 3,000 yen, which is about $30, to watch the movie, and they have to get Disney Plus, and our Disney Plus is inferior, and it's really clunky process to get on Japanese Disney Plus. There's not a lot of people who are happy about it, and I know some people who don't want to watch the movie because they can't go and see it in theaters.
Yeah, that's Which is a real shame that like Disney's not taking advantage of. Like, if a market has open movie theaters, just put it out there. Like, what's the harm? Movies are like digital now, anyways. It's just sending them the bits. Like, go for it.
How hard is it? Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I mean, so here's my thought. All right, so on the one hand, $30 is like, you go to a movie theater, family of 4, you're going to pay more than $30 to see the movie. Even if it's only 2 of you, you're going to pay at least $20 to see the movie. So $30 isn't a terrible price point. The problem is that Disney cannot make enough money at a $30 price point on streaming in order to cover the costs of the movie, because we've seen this happen. All these people are having Mulan watch parties this weekend because it just came out. Pete had one. I know David and Marcy are having one. So they're inviting 5-10 people over to watch Mulan, which means it's not a $12 movie ticket. It's like a $3 movie ticket. And so there's no way they're going to make enough money to cover their costs for Mulan. But yet people that are looking at the $30 price point think, wow, that's kind of like a lot. They're clearly not charging that much in Europe. They're not charging that much in Japan because the yen is kind of weak. But so on the one hand, $30 is a lot. Like $27 or something?
Only, it's $27, $28. It's not that significant of a difference.
But so $30 it seems like a lot of money to pay for one movie. But on the other hand, it's not enough for Disney to make any money on it to make their profit back. And I don't think the uptake is very high. And so I think you've got a problem from both ends, is that people think $30 is expensive when it's really not. Maybe it's just people don't want to see Mulan. People don't care. The movie looks terrible. Everything that I've heard from people like Pete said that it was terrible. So you've also got now all these people who've watched it on Disney Plus, whether they paid or went to somebody else's house to watch it or whatever. There's a lot of now talk on the internet about whether people like it or not. And it looks like people by and large don't like it. So again, we talked about Artemis Fowl a number of months ago when that came out, and how releasing that direct to Disney Plus was a perfect solution for Disney, because the movie was pretty much panned by the critics. And so putting it on Disney Plus and not having it flop in the theaters was sort of a lifesaver for Disney, because then they didn't look bad by releasing a movie in theaters that everyone hated. So it's almost the same with Mulan, except for now they're charging $30 for it. People are still going to hate it. Not that many people are going to pay $30 for it. So again, it's almost another flop. And everyone who says that Disney Plus is the only profitable division of the company right now, that may be the case. I mean, obviously they're making a profit in Disney Plus, but the problem is, if the studio is spending hundreds of millions of dollars to make these movies, Disney Plus has got to give some of that money back to the studio. So that comes out of the Disney Plus bottom line and goes right back to the studio division for all these movies that are not making it to theaters. So there's all of those things, I think, working against Mulan. The other question is, if they thought Mulan was going to be a blockbuster, they could have held it. Like, theaters are now open in Japan. I think they're going to open in the U.S. at some point in the next 6 months, probably. Maybe by Christmas if we're lucky, I don't know. But they could hold it. I mean, they could release it. They're already pushed back the Jungle Book release date. So they could push back the release date. I don't know that they expected it to do that good. I mean, it's been delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed again and again and again. And you know,
I mean,
I hadn't heard anything positive. Like, no one was saying, "Oh, I can't wait for Mulan." Like Jungle Cruise, I get. You know, like people are saying, "Oh, this Jungle Cruise movie looks awesome. I wish they hadn't delayed it another whole year." No one's saying that about Mulan. Mostly, what people are saying about Mulan is, did this movie really need to get made? I mean, you don't have Mushu, you don't have the songs. All the good parts of Mulan you don't have.
We've been saying, does this movie need to be made for the last 5 years every time they put out a remake? There's nothing new there.
I mean, we've said it about live action, but some of the live action remakes are decent.
No, yeah.
Some of them are better than others.
But they need to get made.
None of them... Right.
There's a couple, I think, that have deserved to stand on their own. I'm very pleased, honestly. We all collectively threw so much shade on The Lion King last year for literally being a shot-for-shot remake of the original and still coming out inferior. I think it's good that they tried something different with Mulan. The movie's all right. I don't know if I'd watch it again over the original, but it's all right. I'd put it up there. It's not as terrible as Aladdin or The Lion King was, but hey, Aladdin made $1 billion. I see no reason to think that Mulan would not have also been a blockbuster.
I mean, I saw Aladdin and I didn't hate it. There were a lot of parts of it I didn't like, but I didn't hate it overall. I mean, it was funny in a lot of places. So, you know...
The ending was wonky. I was not a fan of how that movie ended. I don't have a strong enough opinion to rant on it, but like that, I didn't like
that. I didn't like the sing. See, and so here's an example. Like Aladdin had most of the songs of the animated version, but I don't think they really did them justice. I think a lot of them were kind of weird, and the people that were singing them weren't like singers. They were kind of like actors singing, as opposed to, like, if you had a Broadway version, you'd get the top name singing talent to do the songs. So, I don't know. I don't want to talk about Aladdin, because that was a long time ago. But
well, okay, so with Mulan, then, I see no reason to have not expected it to be a blockbuster. All of these have sold well. Anything down to The Jungle Book, which not everyone saw, still did really well. I mean, Cinderella's done well.
Too. I thought that was pretty decent.
Well, no, I love Jungle Book. Jungle Book is my favorite so far of the remakes, but
I mean, even Maleficent was pretty decent.
Yeah.
All of these have sold tickets. They've all filled theaters. I see no reason for Disney to have expected that it would have been any different with Mulan.
Well, so I think the difference with Mulan is that the live action Mulan remake, and a lot of people are saying this in the chat, the live action Mulan remake was not made for U.S. audiences. It was made for Chinese.
No, it was made for China.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think, although you're saying it would have been a blockbuster, I don't know that it would have been as well received in the U.S. theaters as it would have in China. So if you compared it to Jungle Book or whatever, most movies have a certain percent of their revenue come from the U.S. and a certain percent from China. I think Mulan would have tipped the scales quite a bit in China's favor. And so,
no,
you know,
this would have been a movie that this would have definitely been a movie that had it been released under normal circumstances, it would have made more money in China than the U.S. But
right.
The nostalgia still is what sells in the United States, and I don't think that this would have by any means been a disappointment for the studio if they had waited, because the U.S. is still the world's largest cinematic market.
Right. I think Artemis Fowl would have been a disaster in theaters. I don't think that Mulan would have been. I don't think that Mulan would have been like a flop. I think it probably, obviously, no movie ever makes as much as Disney wants it to make. But I think Mulan probably would have lacked the positive word of mouth that other movies, live action remakes generally got, is my thought.
Yeah, I guess.
I think that Mulan would have been a domestic flop, and it might have recovered its cost to make the film in the Chinese market. Now, granted, I don't know the Chinese film market well enough. Maybe it would have been so box office busting in China that it would have turned a reasonable profit. But I don't see this movie getting any traction in the U.S. theaters. Like, the reviews for this from U.S. critics have just been
Disney.
So
People are going to
trash.
see the movie.
I mean, I think that there are going to be some
here's the
critics
thing.
that
They're going to
see
see
it just on name recognition, but I don't think it's going to be enough to actually have it make a profit, really, in the U.S.
But here's the problem: is that I think if it was in theaters, people would have gone to see it because it was Disney. I don't know that as many people are going to spend $30 to see it on Disney Plus as would have gone to the theaters. So my thought is that because everyone knows it's coming out on Disney Plus in 3 months, they're more reluctant to spend $30 to see it now versus in a theater. It's a very different experience. And so that's the thing that is lacking now, is that you spend, $15 for a movie ticket to go see it in a theater. A lot of that is the experience. It's not just the content, it's the experience. It's the big screen, it's the popcorn, it's the whole experience. So unless your content is top-notch content, then people are going to be happy to watch it wherever they can. But if your content is mediocre, then many less people are going to spend money to see it at home if they can just wait 3 months and see it for free. Whereas if your content is mediocre, people still have fun and enjoy going to the theater to see a movie. That's the difference, and I think that's where anything that is not a blockbuster movie is going to have a tough time making a lot of money on a direct to streaming type release.
See, and that's exactly why all of us pack theaters every 3 or 4 years to watch the new Transformers movie and then forget it ever exists.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, if Transformers came out on streaming and not in the theaters, people wouldn't care.
No, they're not good movies, but they're good to see on the big screen. It's part of the experience. And that's why people remember Avatar. That's why everyone saw Avatar, is because it was so good on the big screen. No one really cares about it now. You talk to people now, most people haven't seen Avatar unless they saw it 10 years ago.
Right.
Then the exception is not the rule. I just wanted to point it out. I think that Disney made a huge mistake showing their hand on when Mulan was going to get a release on Disney Plus for everyone. If they had left it open and if they had just said, "Hey, it's on Premier Access. You don't know when it's coming out. Why don't you see?" If they hadn't had said that it's coming out on December 4th, I think there would have been more people willing, rather than just saying, "I'll wait 3 months. My friends think it isn't that good,"
Right. I mean, 3 months is kind of
and then of course. No, especially now. Time has no meaning right now. The other question, of course, is, Disney no one really buys Blu-rays anymore, but you still have to wonder, is Disney going to put Mulan out on Blu-ray? Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
I buy Blu-rays.
Not everyone buys Blu-rays.
I buy CDs.
Is the Mulan Blu-ray going to cost less than $30?
I think it has to. I mean, every movie that comes out on Blu-ray is like $20-some on the week it's released. So yeah, it's going to cost less than $30.
That's insane.
But anyway,
who thought people would pay this?
I don't know.
People are paying it. That's the thing. Like, there's some people,
but not
who are
many.
Paying $30 to watch.
Yeah, some people are, because they're inviting 10 friends over and collecting $3 from each of them. That's the only way they're paying it.
Probably collecting $5 from each of them, turning a profit.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I would do.
Well, they're probably providing popcorn, so yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. $5 for the movie plus
the eBay
popcorn
resellers of Mulan.
Next thing you know, we're going to see like Disney Plus accounts on sale on eBay with access to Mulan in the description.
You don't have to. You could just hack it. They're so easy to hack. That's what happened when they first came out a year ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So, Hatbox Ghost asks in the chat, which has more immersion, Avatar at Animal Kingdom or Star Wars at Hollywood Studios? This is a great question. I don't know that we want to get on a huge tangent. I know what Ben's answer would be.
Do you, though? Because I don't know what it is.
I don't know. Really? I would say absolutely Avatar. I mean, here's the other thing about this. To answer this question is I've never seen the Avatar movies. And I still would say that Avatar movie, whatever it is, they're coming out with new ones.
2022, it's fine.
I've never seen the movie, and I still like Avatar Pandora better than Galaxy's Edge. So there's that. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say. That's kind of my take on things. Go ahead, Ben.
I think Pandora has the better headliner attraction for sure, and I do really like the detail that was put into Pandora the land. But I think that in terms of like immersive storytelling, Galaxy's Edge does a significantly better job of telling a story and making you feel like you're a part of a universe and you have an impact on that universe. Like Pandora, I think is significantly more fun to go to. But if we want to talk about like immersive storytelling, I think that Galaxy's Edge just does such a great job from the just how incredibly complex and deep Rise of the Resistance is, with the Smuggler's Run being this giant interactive thing where like you actually impact the outcome of the ride. And then you've got Vi running around back when we had character interactions and things like that. I mean, you had Vi running around. Stormtroopers would catch Vi sometimes. And like people, like I saw interactions where people would like rat Vi out to the Stormtroopers. And it's just the funniest thing to watch. Like that land had some quality interactions in it, so I don't know. I like Pandora more, but I think Galaxy's Edge just fits the question better.
I think Galaxy's Edge tries too hard. Well, there's that.
If you say, because you can be immersed in something and not be a part of it, or you can be immersed in something and be a part of it. And I think, and what Ben was just saying, the quality of the visuals and the you're somewhere else and the theming, for lack of a better term, the design of Pandora, I think if you're a tourist and you're visiting Pandora on an Ace expedition, then it absolutely works and you're totally immersed in that sort of experience in Pandora. You know, yeah, let's go fly a Banshee and let's go down the river. Oh, and let's go eat and then, you know, walk around and then we're done. But you're not part of Pandora. You're visiting Pandora. I think if you define immersion as being part of what's going on, part of the design, then Galaxy's Edge wins because you are a part of what's going on. The stores are smaller, so you have a more intimate relationship with the seller. You are flying the actual spaceship that is docked at Galaxy's Edge, and of course you are trying to help the rebels win against the First Order in the Rise of the Resistance. And as I think you just said, Jason, there are actual characters, and Ben, some of which interact with you in ways you wouldn't expect to necessarily. So again, it depends on what you mean by immersion. If you're a spectator immersive experience, Pandora wins. If you're an involved immersion, then I think Galaxy's Edge wins. I think both of them have the design to support those types of immersions, and in that case, they're both winners, I guess, really. But it depends. It depends on what you're looking for immersion.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest issue with Galaxy's Edge from an immersion point of view is I think it tries too hard. I think it feels forced. So Pandora to me feels yeah.
Ooh, can we get more stroke of the night for that?
feels-
Yikes.
Pandora feels really natural to me. Like the immersion isn't forced. Like Satuli Canteen is a great restaurant. It has sort of unique food that may or may not be from another planet. I don't know. As much as I like Ronto wraps, I think they're almost, to me, it just seems like it's not very imaginative. So like having the stormtroopers out and yelling at you, and I think there's in Galaxy's Edge the roaming droids that were supposed to happen, the whole thing of you were supposed to be part of a storyline and things would like follow you around. Like there was a lot of immersive elements that got cut from Galaxy's Edge. So I think what's left is just it's kind of, it tries too hard, and in some ways it feels kind of fake. I think Pandora is a more natural immersion, and Star Wars is a more forced immersion. And so it's not that Star Wars isn't immersive; it's just a different kind of immersion. And that's exactly what you said in a totally different perspective, Rich. Is that difference in terms of what immersion really is?
Right.
The other thing that's interesting
the whole Star Wars universe is a forced place, no pun intended that time, versus, I mean, if you go back to the genesis of what Star Wars was in the mind's eye of what George Lucas says it was, it's a space opera. So everything is supposed to be a little bit over the top, a little bit more dramatic, bigger explosions, evil is eviler, good is gooder. But in Pandora, it was intentionally, again, if you listen to what James Cameron said, much more subtle. The conservation message kind of hits you over the head, but everything is less overly dramatic, less soap opera-y. It's more of a situation that you are looking at, and again, maybe not involved in. Whereas Star Wars, yeah, it's the costume party that everybody wants to go to.
I think it's also maybe a result of James Cameron being very involved with the design of Pandora, and George Lucas being pretty much not involved with the design of Galaxy's Edge. I think that plays a big role in the overall sort of feel, and why Galaxy's Edge seems more forced, because it wasn't designed by the person behind the concept originally.
Yeah, I'd go along with that too. Also, I think you could say that Pandora is a design of two incredibly brilliant people, and Galaxy's Edge is a design from a committee of 30 brilliant or not people. You know, there's a committee versus.
I mean, and you could, and it's certainly valid to compare both of those to Harry Potter Land at Universal. I call it Harry Potter Land because there's kind of two parts of it. But both of those, J.K. Rowling was very involved with the design, and it kind of shows. In terms of immersion, I think that's more immersive than either Star Wars or Pandora. And as difficult as it was for the Disney or for the Universal creative folks to deal with her, I think what she did really made that entire project super immersive, and absolutely everyone who goes there is blown away. And I don't think that necessarily happens with Galaxy's Edge or Pandora quite as much. The other thing I'll say is that, I don't even like one of the two rides in Pandora. So even with that, I still think Pandora does a better job at whatever you want to call immersion than Galaxy's Edge. I kind of, some people, Tom doesn't like Millennium Falcon. I kind of like it. I think it's fun. It's at least it has rewritability. unless you get the gunner every time, then it's kind of boring. But
Yeah.
it's great now that they don't fill every car, because you go with 2 people and you can get whatever position you want, which I think is pretty neat.
Yeah.
But so there's that too.
I just hope with
Reporting
Smuggler's
live
Run
from-
at some point they put a second one in, like, because they've clearly got the ability to have multiple different missions. I want to be able to do something other than stealing coaxium from a train. Like,
yeah, I think we'll get there. I think part of the problem is it kind of suffers from the Toy Story Mania problem. Toy Story Mania was absolutely designed from the get-go to have all these different games put into it, but people enjoyed the one so much they kind of figured, well, what's the point? So I think it'll take a while. I think, I was pilot for the first time, the last time I wrote it a couple weeks ago, and that was great fun. I'd never been pilot before. Pilot was absolutely fun, and I would ride again and again if I could be pilot every time. And so just to make sure, it doesn't even matter. I can't. What was I? I was the right pilot.
okay.
But I wouldn't. Yeah. I wouldn't care. Somebody in the chat said that I don't like Flight of Passage. I just want to clarify. No, the ride that I don't like in Pandora is the Navi River Journey, because I think it's kind of boring. But it's a nice, calm ride. Yeah, I just think and it looks nice. It's visually appealing, but I think it just lacks. It kind of lacks a story. Like you can ride through and look at all this nice stuff, but you're like, what's going on? What am I here? What's happening? It's just kind of like,
it lacks a story that you can figure out. Like, you have to do research to know what's going on in that attraction,
right?
Like, you have
so
to.
In other words, it lacks a story,
or you need to know what's going on in order to understand.
And that I think is a drawback.
I agree.
That is
100%.
absolutely a drawback for me. If I knew what the story was, Ben, next time we're there, I want to ride with you, and you can tell me what the story is, because
I'll
would love
translate the lyrics the whole time. Yeah,
I would love to ride that ride and like it more than I currently do. It would be great if I could ride that and like it more than I currently do. But as it is, it doesn't do a lot for me. It's nice to look at. It usually has a short line. I mean, relatively short. But it's not like, when I think of like boat rides in parks, you've got Small World, you've got Jungle Cruise, you've got Spencer.
No, Sinbad.
Spencer's a ride? Oh, goodness.
Oh, you got Sinbad. Spencer's talking about Sinbad. Yes.
Okay.
You got Sinbad Storybook Voyage. You've got a lot of epic boat rides. And
I thought that park wasn't open yet.
It's not. There's no boat rides in there either. I mean, even like Living with the Land has a really cohesive story. You may not like it. It may be boring to you, but it has a really cohesive storyline to it, and a lot of really nice sets and things that further the story. So I would love Navi River Journey to mean as much as those other things do, except it just doesn't right now, because I don't get it. So I'll need Ben to fix that. But anyway. So another tangent. That's fine. Let's see. Alfred wants a shout out. Thank you, Alfred.
Reporting live with this rant from Galaxy's Edge, Jason Diffendahl.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to change my backdrop now, because I don't really like Galaxy's Edge. Bill says I need to open my mind. I would like to, Bill. I would love to understand what's going on in Navi River Journey, but as it is now, the ride doesn't tell me. Like somebody else needs to tell me, and I think the rides should be sort of self-sufficient in order for you to understand what's going on, or else there should be a pre-show, right? Like Flight of Passage has an extensive pre-show that explains what's going on. Navi River Journey doesn't, and that may be all that it needs to solve that problem. So
not even in the
something.
queue. Like, the queue is just like generic, like, this is Pandora stuff. Like, it's not explaining what you're doing or why you're here or anything like that. You have
Right.
no idea why you're getting on that boat when you get on it. It's just poor storytelling.
Right. Yep. Exactly. So.
And I like the ride.
All right. Let's see. So I want to make sure we save enough time, although I don't know that this will be a long topic, but we might go off on tangents anyway. The Disney cast member raises. So we published, I don't know, 2 days ago now, I think. We published a story a couple days ago, and the title was Disney cast members getting raises while many remain on furlough. And so this is the unionized cast members at Walt Disney World are under a union negotiated contract that gives them pay raises on scheduled times. Here it is. Unionized Walt Disney World cast members to receive pay raises while some remain furloughed. So the union, as unions are supposed to do, negotiated a contract for unionized cast members. These are the food and beverage cast members and housekeeping. This was a contract that the union negotiated a year and a half ago, maybe. So the pay raises were 75 cents or $1 an hour. It was already negotiated. It was already in place. It was already a contract. So first of all, that was our title. Unionized Walt Disney World cast members to receive pay raise while some remained furloughed. The Orlando Hotel and Restaurant Workers Movement, which is what the union calls themselves, it says workers have, they tweeted this, workers have lost a lot in the COVID crisis, but the union contract keeps us strong. So the union is, of course, celebrating the fact that they were able to negotiate a contract where union members get pay raises. But our title specifically, it's while the part while some remain furloughed. Somebody on Twitter had taken issue with our title and said that these two things are really not related, and it's kind of irrelevant to put the part about cast members remaining furloughed because it doesn't have anything to do with the raises. And so somebody on Twitter took issue with that. And I replied to them and I said, here's the problem, and here's my problem with this. So the union is, of course, acting like it's doing a great job. The union contract keeps us strong, they say. But it doesn't keep all of them strong. The union contract got some cast members a pay raise, but others of them are still furloughed. And of course, if they come back from their furlough, they'll be at the higher pay grade. But the problem that I explained is that the union was not able to get all of the cast members back from furlough yet. It hasn't happened. And it certainly is possible that if there wasn't a union contract that was negotiated by the union, if these were all non-union cast members, it certainly is possible that Disney, with having so many workers still out of a job and struggling to make ends meet, could have opted to give, instead of giving those cast members a pay raise that are already working, could have opted to use that money to bring back more furloughed cast members. Right, so in other words, the labor expense, the amount of money that Disney is paying people total, would have been the same either way, but more cast members would have been working, albeit at a lower wage. So I guess it depends on your outlook on things. If you're one of the cast members that is already working again, then a raise is spectacular, especially because of however much wages you lost during the pandemic by being furloughed. So yeah, a $1 pay raise is great. That's absolutely fantastic. And I don't want to take that away from anyone. But on the other hand, we're kind of in the middle of a very unusual time. And, if the company wanted to do whatever it could for the most cast members to benefit the most cast members possible, I think it would have made more sense to not give a raise to the cast members that are there, but bring more of them back. Not start giving raises until all of your cast members are back and working and making at least something. Because here you have... some of them are working and they're making even more money, while others are still not making any money. And I think everybody should get up to the same level, be on the same playing field before you start giving raises. I'm not saying that that's necessarily the right way to do things. Obviously, it's not what happened, but I think the union touting this pay raise as something that should be celebrated, while a bunch of cast members are still furloughed and having to wait in line for hours at food banks because they don't have any income. The union is clearly ignoring all of those cast members that haven't been brought back yet. So they're acting like they did great things by negotiating this pay raise, and in reality, they're taking care of some of their members, but not all of them. So my point is, and this is not an anti-union thing either, because I've been in a union before. My dad's been in a union all his life. I don't have a significant problem with unions. It's just in this very weird situation that we're in. It's really the union and having negotiated this contract that is preventing Disney from doing something else with the wage money that it pays out, where one of those options could have been to call back more cast members from furlough rather than giving the current cast members a wage increase. So that's my thought on it. It's not really kind of a rant. It's just and I'm kind of, as you can sort of maybe tell, I'm kind of torn, because on the one hand, the unions do fight for their members and help their members sometimes get better wages and benefits than if they weren't in a union. But on the other hand, here's an example where the union is actually hurting a lot of its members, because instead of fighting for everyone to get their jobs back, they're fighting for some of them to get wage increases. And like I said, I would rather see more cast members back from furlough than the ones who are back to get a wage increase. Eventually, they should all get wage increases, absolutely. But I don't think it should happen until all of them, or at least all of them that want to come back, are back. So that's kind of my opinion. If you guys want to chime in and let me know your thoughts. I'm gonna now review what the chat was saying while I was on that topic.
I'll go first if no one else wants to.
Paying attention.
So this is. So first off, this contract had already been negotiated before COVID hit. With these staggered pay raises in place. So this was something that was already in motion before all of this. So this wasn't something the union was actively fighting for in the middle of the COVID crisis. It was something that they had already won the battle. So that being said,
right. My point was that.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to interject, and you're exactly right. And if I didn't say that, if I didn't make that clear, I apologize. But the fact that contract was already done and signed means that, therefore, it kind of tied Disney's hands. Like they couldn't. They could have renegotiated. I guess they could go back and try to renegotiate, right? But is it Disney? Is the onus on Disney to ask to renegotiate that contract, or should the onus be on the union to say, look, we want to try to be get as beneficial of a deal for all of our members, whether they're working or not, and so we'd like to renegotiate, and instead of getting a raise for the current ones, we'd like to get more of them called back. Like that, to me, that the onus should be on the union to do that, because the union represents all of its members, not just the ones that are back working. Like, Disney certainly could have asked to renegotiate that contract and said that was their idea, but I don't know that, in my mind, the union should have been the one to take that step.
Do we know that
go
the
ahead,
union
finish.
didn't try and do that? Like,
I think
that
the
might
union would
been
have
something they
told,
tried to do, and
said,
it just didn't work.
I mean, unions pretty much try to make a big deal about everything they do, so I kind of assume that we would have heard, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, that's I would have expected to know.
Yeah. My other kind of point here, though, is that the CEO salary reinstatement, I think, is the
we talked about that last
slap
week
in the face, right? But I think that is the bigger sign that Disney genuinely does not care about getting their cast paid and getting them off of food banks, is that they're going to go give all of the CEOs their full salaries back. Disney don't care. Disney does not care about you. They're a company. They care about profits and bottom lines. They negotiated a contract a while back in order to keep the unions working so that they wouldn't have to deal with a strike and a stop work. And this was a price they had to pay to continue maintaining business. They're certainly not interested in giving resources away when they don't have to. It's painful to watch, and I hate it, and it is entirely unethical, but it's not something I would expect a business to really step up and do anymore, because the human capital for the businesses doesn't matter as much as it really should. So that's my 2 cents
along
on
those
that.
exact same lines. Somebody in the chat called Ench Tiki Room, which is a shortened version of Enchanted Tiki Room, I assume, says, Disney is a business, attendance is way down. Why bring people back if there's nothing for them to do? Well, a couple things in response to that. I think there's plenty for them to do, as all these rides are breaking and still broken down, and the People Mover still isn't working. There's plenty. Yeah. There's plenty for people to do at Disney World, whether attendance is up or down. But the other thing, as Ben said, is to treat human capital as humans. Like, Universal paid all of their team members. I say this almost every week. Universal paid all of their team members for a long time when the parks were completely shut down, instead of furloughing them, even though there was absolutely nothing for them to do because the parks were closed. So here you have an example where having more cast members in the parks to do whatever, whether it's sanitize things or help with crowd control or whatever. There's plenty for them to do now that the parks are open, regardless if attendance is way down, and it also treats their employees with a bit of respect. So that's my response to that. Any Ben? Spencer or Rich? Go ahead.
I'm absolutely with you, Jason. I think that it should have been on the union, because we know Disney isn't going to take charge there. It would have been good PR at the very least for the union to go to Disney and say, hey, instead of giving us the raise, let's renegotiate, maybe bring more people back. And there's all, like you said, Disney World is a big place. There's always something that they could be doing. Maybe you couldn't put people exactly back where they were, but a lot of these aren't necessarily high-skilled jobs that you have to do extensive retraining for to put someone somewhere else where they're going to be useful until the crowds come back. It's important to think of. It would be nice, at the least, if they would think about the humanity behind the jobs. These people who need to make money.
It's a little bit of a perhaps cynical observation, but it's unfortunately been proven over and over again. The corporation exists for two reasons: to return value to the stakeholders and to ensure the continued existence of the corporation. That's it. The fact that it happens to provide entertainment and employment to a series of people is almost inconsequential. Any company would be like that, medical company. entertainment company, a movie company, at some point they become a bank. They're a financial institution, and they want to make sure that more money comes in than goes out. I think the union is probably the same way. The primary goal of the unions, in my observation, is the continued existence of the union. To be really, really cynical, if they have people with making more money, then their dues go up. Yes, not as many people are paying dues, but still, they're setting the stage to have a little more income, perhaps. So I don't think it's unexpected. I agree that it's unfortunate that the human capital is devalued in these situations, but the reality is that, unfortunately, the way this version of capitalism works is that you have to do everything you can to return value to the those who hold your stakes, which inevitably is the stockholders and so forth, and not the people that got you there. And I think that's what we're seeing here, both on the part of the union and on the part of Disney. The optics of it, the PR, the perception, which we kind of build on ourselves based on where we are at, is really bad, both for the union and for Disney. Having Mr. Chapek and Iger again begin to reap their millions of dollars while people are literally starving, and likewise the union making good and crowing about those people who are still employed, which is a minority of the people in the union. Earning more money is probably bad timing, not really good, but nonetheless, that's the world that they live in. That's the world that we live in.
Yeah, it's sad,
Well said,
but it's
Rich.
true.
Well said. I want to just address one more thing in the chat, because this came up last week too. Somebody mentioned that Universal, being owned by Comcast, probably has plenty of money because everybody's, Comcast is making a lot of money during the pandemic. I don't know that huge corporations like that can just say, well, the cable division and the internet division is making a ton, and the entertainment, the parks and resorts division is these people are hurting because the parks are closed, so let's just divert a couple $100 million from this division to that division. I don't think that's the way that corporate finance works. So I'm really, in terms of the fact that Universal decided to keep paying its team members while the parks were closed, I don't think that has anything to do with the fact that Comcast makes a lot of money from cable TV customers. I don't think those two things are related. I still am firmly in the belief that Universal cares about its team members more than Disney cares about its cast members, and I still believe that. I'd love to be proven wrong, but I don't think that Comcast can just divert the money like that. Go ahead, Spencer.
It's okay. We all said in 2016 and 2017, when Shanghai was underperforming at the beginning, that money was being diverted from the other resorts to help float Shanghai. It's the same kind of logic.
But that's the same division. That's the Parks and Resorts division within the Walt Disney Company.
No, there's still separate division, but there's still separate divisions of the Parks and Resorts. It's other levels of the pyramid.
It's down a level of the pyramid. That's fine. I think my thought would be that if it's Parks and Resorts budget, then they can. So they diverted money from the Main Street Theater, apparently, to fix the monorails, right? So that's a different division too, because one is park capital expenses and one is transportation. That's a different division too, but the budget's still all under Walt Disney World. So at some point, you have divisions where they can shift budget around, but in terms of Comcast versus, the cable division versus the Parks and Resorts, that's the highest level division you can have. I don't.
That's true.
Just from an accounting perspective, I think it's not something that you can do, or at least not easily, on that high of a level, although it's the lower the level that you get, the easier it gets to do. Anyway, all right, we're pretty close to 10 o'clock. Let me just, let's see.
Oh, I was going through the chat earlier. Thank you, Paul Adler and Penguin Project, for the appreciation for Tokyo. Always love it.
Let's see.
Thank you, Patrick, for the $2 for me not shaving. No promises that I'll be able to keep that up. But...
Oh, boy.
I was just going to ask if we should bring up the whole facial hair thing.
Yeah, this is called the lazy look.
Hey, Ben, consider yourself lucky. I can't grow facial hair, so...
I mean, I usually like shave everything like Wednesday at like 8 o'clock. So it's
so right before or after Park Center.
Right before, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I might keep the like rough look though. It's easier to maintain, and apparently it makes money in chat. So hey.
It's the Virginia
Spencer, you've got people that say. You've got people that say Spencer's so cute, and then you got people that say need more beards. So you've
it
got
goes
people
both
on
ways.
both sides of your facial hair issue. Yeah.
If anyone wants to send me like a face toupee, I might consider that.
Just use like Sharpie. I mean, your video quality's bad enough that nobody would know.
Ouch.
Ouch, but true.
I have to be on a
it's
Zoom
fine. You're in
class meeting
Japan.
in,
It's
like,
fine.
an hour, and
Yeah. I mean, no. I understand your video quality's poor because you're in Japan. It's understandable.
And it's because I've run speed tests the whole show, and I don't know what's going on. So
Well, maybe you should stop running speed tests, and your internet would get better.
I didn't ask for your logic, Ben.
Spencer, somebody in the chat wants to know. Somebody in the chat wants to know where is the pile of stuff you have to mail to Tom. Usually it's in the background.
When I moved the pile moved as well. So I've got a pile here, and I'm not going to turn my camera because my apartment is dirty. I've got a pile here that is about to this level. And there we go, yeah. And then I've got another pile over there. And then there is a whole half of my closet, which is right here, that is covered in boxes and things for Tom. So it's all been redistributed to different areas of the apartment, and they still haven't resumed mail from Japan to the US yet, so I'm just waiting. But let's see, recent additions to the Tom pile. How about ththese Jaws cup and snow cone things from USJ?
That's cool.
Yeah. There's also a whole bag over there of like Disney C-18 stuff, but I don't want to get up, or Disney C-19 stuff.
Gifts for the Supreme Leader, somebody says in the chat.
It's the insurance so that Tom can't fire me. I get fired every time I'm on a show with Tom, but this is the insurance to make sure it doesn't actually happen. Yep. And then Jason, your bag is over there too, I think.
I just have a bag. I only usually ask
one
for
bag.
small stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's your insurance policy because you've got paid for all this stuff. So if Tom fires you, then he's never going to get the stuff that he's already paid for. Pretty sneaky.
Yeah.
You're in a good situation.
We have a bunch of weird
You've
Tokyo
got job
merch go up on an
security.
eBay reseller. We know that
I
Spencer
do,
got fired.
and
We know it. Yeah, right.
the best... If there's ever a flood of merchandise on Yahoo Auctions, yeah. The best part, though, is a lot of this stuff is stuff I would never have gotten my hands on if Tom wasn't buying it, which is really cool. Like, I've also got the Jaws mask from USJ, which I thought was really cool.
Oh, cool.
Some other stuff in here. Yeah.
That's
The Jaws mask. I texted Tom when those came out, and he was like, yes, get me a Jaws mask. So I got him the Jaws mask.
I wonder if those are like the size of Disney masks, where large, which you'd think would fit large people, actually fits like small people.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I had someone else who I got another mask of this size for someone else who has around the same head shape as Tom, and he said it fit really well. So,
well, But I mean, Tom's head shape changes. Sometimes it gets way inflated.
It depends on if he's visited Sanaa the past couple of days.
No, that's his stomach size, not his head size.
Anyway, I think we should probably call it quits.
Yeah, before we all get fired.
Take it night.
Yeah,
Grace.
right. Well, Tom's not watching, so Tom's not watching. I think we're okay. Anyway,
God.
let's call it a night. Thank you all very much for watching. Thank you, Ben and Spencer and Rich, for being on tonight. I think we had a really great discussion. I think the chat really liked it. The chat definitely appreciates Rich's wisdom, so that's always a good thing.
Yes.
Oh, wise Rich of Grafton.
Yeah, and thank you very much to
hair.
Kevin for running everything, setting everything up, even though he had a very busy day today and was stuck at Caribbean Beach with no way to get back to his car because the Skyliner shut down. Yeah, because, you know, it rains.
Was there
and the
unexpected
Skyliner shuts
downtime?
down. No, it was total. Well, I mean, it rained. As
So
much
wait, hang on a
as
second.
much as
The
you can
Skyliner
expect
shuts
rain every
down
day in Florida.
When it rains.
When it rains. Yeah, every day.
But it rains every day in Florida. Why?
Yeah.
Why would they build this?
Every day.
This makes no sense.
No.
I don't know, but it does, and it strands people places. So
Why
anyway,
did they
that's
enclose
that.
the car? Like, if it's not, why bother putting a roof on it if it can't run in the rain? Now it's just this hot, stuffy box that doesn't do anything.
Yep.
God,
Yep.
please.
But there you go. So anyway, so Kevin, yeah, I'm sure Kevin's tired after having been through a lot today. So thank you very much, Kevin, for getting home and running the show for us. Again, thanks to all the viewers. Tune in again next week. Thanks, Spencer, for showing me something you bought me. I don't know what that was.
I forgot I had my deck of cards on the desk. It was the Dreamlights playing cards.
Okay.
I have the deck I bought for
Yes,
myself.
they're cool. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Thank you to the panel. Tune in again next week. Same time, same place. For another episode of Pressing Issues. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thanks for watching.